Get somebody and say, keep fighting. When we begin to look at the culture of our nation, one cannot help but take note of the systematic injustices that have consistently prevailed against our people. When we look at Ferguson, we look at Sanford, and we look at New York, as we look at Cleveland, and yes, even now in Baltimore, we have watched this come to a head as young people in their own way declare enough is enough. While we do not condone the rioting and we do not support the destruction of property, we also do not condone the reckless taking of lives by those in seats of authority. We do not condone that which the young people did in Baltimore in the streets on last week, but we also do not condone the actions of those 6 officers in the back of a paddy wagon. I wish I had a witness in here this morning. I begin this message by raising a question. What has happened in the life of the black church that has caused us to lose the voice that we once had? I do not believe that the voice of our church is in the grave of Dr. King, but I believe that it sits silently in the pews. The civil rights movement of the 60s was spearheaded by prophetic voices in the church. They did not hide behind the 4 walls. They did not sit in the convenience of luxury pews, but they took to the streets and they marched. They waged war with their words and by standing when no one else would. What has happened to our voice? We got the Voting Rights Act passed and we quieted down. We elected a president that looks like us, then we went back into our individual corners. I know I'm right because we showed up in 2008 in record numbers. We showed up again in 2012 in record numbers, but we failed to go to the polls in 2014 to put in Congress a Congress that would support the man we put in office 2 years prior. We show up, Tracy, we show up when it's convenient. We show up when the cameras are on. We show up only when tragedy strikes. But today, I speak to the young people of our nation. I speak to the leaders of our people. I speak to those in authority. I declare and decree that we must not lose our momentum. We must keep fighting. We must continue to stand when others are going home. We must continue to stand when everybody else has packed up their bags and they've gone to their separate neighborhood. We must not wait for Al and Jesse to show up before we think it's time to take a stand. And God knows that even today, Hungry Al ain't got a whole lot that he can say to us about what needs to happen in our communities. It's hard to dictate to me what needs to happen in my neighborhood where you live in the luxuries of the suburbs. It's hard to dictate to me what should happen in our schools when you got your kid in a private school. It's hard to dictate to me what should happen in our neighborhood when you have never been in our streets before. It's hard to dictate to me what we should do when you haven't done anything your doggone self. And so I said to our young people and I said to our churches, we must keep fighting. We must keep fighting. We are at a pivotal point in our society. Marilyn Mosby on this week made great history by standing flat-footed and declaring that there was probable cause to arrest the 6 officers in relation to what is now disclosed as the murder of Freddie Gray. Marilyn Mosby made a very prophetic declaration by saying, young people, our time is now. So I say to us today, our time is now, and we must keep fighting. This week I sat and I stood and I watched gang leaders stand together to fight for peace and justice. I watched gang leaders stand with clergy and stand even with police to restore a community that had been shattered. Now is not the time, Russell Tabernacle, for us to recess to our individuality. Now is the time to make our voices known and be a true reflection of Christ. Where are on charges, just because those officers will face trials, just because things seem to be victorious, it does not mean we can now go back and hide, but it rather indicates that we must keep fighting. We must continue to stand for what's right and stand for that which is just, regardless of race, creed, denomination, socioeconomic status. We must all stand together. When we look at our text this morning, we find the Apostle Paul having a conversation with Timothy prior to Paul's passing away. Paul says to Timothy, he says, young man, I need to encourage you to keep fighting and to stay on course. He says, I need you to stay focused on the task at hand. Paul says to Timothy in verse 5, he says, be watchful, be alert, be attentive. The problem in the church today is that we are now sleeping. We are lying dormant. We're too busy having chicken dinners instead of being alert, instead of being attentive, instead of looking forward to what God has for us. Why is it that the enemy has come into our homes, has come into our churches, has come into our schools, and has come into our communities? We are right there in the midst. I would submit that we have become so focused on raising and collective conference funds that we have allowed the enemy to steal the mission and the mantle of the church. I would submit that we are so busy who's sitting next to who and who's burying who that we have relinquished our authority as the voice of God in this generation. Y'all want to talk back to me? I feel talking right. We have relinquished our voice as the people of God. We have relinquished our authority because we sit back and we sit in the confines of our home and we become Facebook bullies and we talk about this, that, and the third. We have meeting after meeting, conference after conference, yet we still not doing the damn thing. I'm sorry, I ain't need to say it, but I'm tired of us sitting back like nothing is right going to affect us because the truth of the matter is a few weeks ago it was Baltimore and in a few weeks it could be Philly. I'm sorry to say, but it will not stop until we keep fighting, until we take a stand, until we raise our voices, until we show up when all the just are over, when they sit in the time we will stand up for us. Will you stand with us, Lord? Will we keep fighting? Paul said to Timothy, he said, be alert and be attentive. Paul says to Timothy, if you are to carry the mantle that comes with bearing the gospel, you must be attentive. You cannot sit back and act as if nothing affects you. Then he says to him, verse 5, he says, endure afflictions. It will not be easy. It will not go away overnight. We thank God for Attorney Mosby. She did an excellent job, but it will not end the process. It's just the beginning. That means that we've got to endure some persecution. That means we've got to deal with some folks not agreeing with us, but we've got to do what? Endure. Endure means stick in there. That means hang in there. That means that even though it seems too rough, you've got to keep going through it because there's victory on the other side. Okay, Paul says to Timothy, he says, be alert, endure afflictions, but then he also says, you've got to do the work of an evangelist. He says, make full proof of thy ministry. In short, Paul says, get to work. He says to Timothy as he encourages him, he says that you cannot sit back in the confines of your home. You cannot wait for somebody else to do it, but you have to do the work. You don't have to wait for the district missionaries for you to be a missionary. You don't have to wait for the approval of a missionary for you to do the work. You don't have to wait for the leader of the ministry to come to you. The Bible says to the work. Some of us are stuck in our injustices. We are stuck in the system that we are in because nobody is willing to do anything, but rather everybody is waiting for somebody to take a step that anybody will do. All of us are sitting back and we're saying it's time for the next guy, but I believe that if we just stand up and we do the work of ministry, then God will begin to glorify Himself through us. Is there anybody in here that would like the Lord to pray that even if I might have to be doing some rough times, I can still do the work because He gives me strength. He gives power to the faint and to the weak. He gives strength to them who have their life. The Bible says, take my way upon the road, shall renew their strength. They shall not on wings like eagles. They shall run not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. If anybody ready to hit the day, that will be faithful to the task that God has placed in you. If anybody hit the day, that will stand and declare, I can keep on fighting because I understand that this is not the end, but it is just the beginning of something greater being birthed in me. Paul says to Timothy, you got to do the work of what's assigned to you. Then Paul goes into his personal testimony. He says, I finished my course. I fought a good fight. I did everything that I was supposed to do. Can the same be said of you? Dr. Miles Monroe declared that one of the greatest tragedies in the world is the cemetery. The question was posed to him why Dr. Monroe, and his response was, because the cemetery is filled with unlocked potential. People that have gifts, people that have ideas, people that have creativity, people that could be innovative, died with those innovative thoughts still on the brain that they never brought to fruition. Some of us have gifts and talents that God is waiting to use, but are you going to allow that which God has put on the inside of you to lie dormant in a casket, or are you going to take the time now to make some things happen? I know some of y'all say, well, preacher, I'm too old or I'm too young. No, if God has given you the gift, you've got to use it for His glory. The greatest distraction for us is thinking that we are qualified for what that God has assigned us to. Maybe if God had to wait for everybody to be qualified, then nobody would have ever accomplished anything. Some of us need to understand that even the Bible shows us that God does not call the qualified, but rather He qualifies those whom He calls. You remember Moses, he had a speech impediment. He did not really want to do the thing, but God said, I will equip you. Y'all remember Jeremiah said, oh, I'm too young. They were living in their life. But God says, I ordained you for such a time as this. Esther, there was a person back in the house. She didn't know what was going to come of her. But the priest went to her and said, maybe, just maybe, God has put you in this place at the right time in front of the right people so that you can make a difference on God's behalf. Some of us need to make that mindset that where we are, the job we are on, the school we are in, the church we are in, so that God will use us to make a difference in the world. Y'all ain't gonna talk to me. I know you're right about it. Because God has equipped us with every tool want to get to the crown of righteousness, you've got to be faithful. Millions of people gathered and spent their $90 to watch the fight last night. It was really a waste of money if you ask me, but hey, to each his own. But what was interesting is at the end, Manny poses a question. He poses a statement. He says, I thought I won. What's interesting is that sometimes in the midst of a fight, because we have a good round, we start to get conceited and think that the fight is over just because I've won this round. Okay. I wish I had a real church that would talk back to me, but since I don't, I'm going to work with what I got. Manny says, I thought I won. Some of us thought we won when we put Barack in office, okay? Some of us thought we won because Mary Mosby said charges will be filed, okay? Some of us thought we won because we got a promotion on the job. Some of us thought we won because we graduated from school. Some of us thought we won, but what I come to serve notice is that level of victory is only the beginning. You have not yet won until you stay in the fight. That means I gotta keep my eyes focused. I gotta keep my mind secure. I gotta keep my spirit focused. Because I understand that I'm able to achieve great people. That I got to be steadfast. the city and stopped the nation midstream to say enough is enough. They've given us the stage, but are we going to keep fighting? Are we going to keep fighting for our young people that do not yet have the right to vote? Is the church going to offer programs that helps our young people know that they can achieve greatness no matter where they live? It helps our ex-convicts know that God still has a plan and a purpose for you. That's how we keep fighting. We don't keep fighting by coming to church Sunday morning, 11:15, sitting here for an hour and a half of worship, then going back home. We fight by investing in our children, by letting them know that we love them. We fight by making our voices known to those in seats of authority. Russell Tabernacle, if we are to truly be the city of victory, we got to keep fighting. There will be times where we will have to stand alone, but I implore you, keep standing. Because God has something greater for each and every one of us. Let's stand to our feet. Come on, thank God for the word.